This is WoSo from Fox Sports.
This is Jochen Graff.
Hi, I'm Neil Collins.
You are listening to the Unused Substitutes.
The Unused Substitutes.
And you're listening to the Unused Substitutes.
Get off the bench!
Hey there, Little Red Riding Hood, I got a problem that is complicated. Going through text and I just can't ignore the signs. There, now it's so loud it hurts. Hear me growl, hear me howl when the full moon is out.
Off the row, ball's gonna bounce down, it's free in the box. Bicycle kick! Goal! Rowdies! What a play! What a shot! And it's 1-0 Rowdies!
Good evening, everybody. You are listening to another episode of the Unused Substitutes. We are live on Radio St. Pete, part of the Beautiful Game Network, and sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. My name is Matt, and on the other end of the video, we don't even have technical problems. We just have I can't click the right song. Steven, I told you right before we went on that we were going to jinx it, and I swear I didn't do it on purpose. How you doing, Steven?
Those are all lies. I think you did it exactly on purpose. I think you knew exactly what you were doing, and I think this is all a conspiracy.
Can we call this, we just call it the opposite day broadcast. We'll start with the ending song, and we'll just do the whole show backwards.
If we could talk backwards, we would. That would be an incredible feat, but
Paul is dead. Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
All right, Steven, tell us who our executive producer is tonight.
Tonight, we have a brand new Patreon, Mitchell. Those of you that are in Ralph's Mob know who he is. Big, giant, massive guy who loves the mob, loves the Rowdies. He can't miss him. Paints his beard and everything. He became a Patreon this week. He loves what we do. We absolutely 100% thank him and thank all of our Patreons, because that is undoubtedly right now the best way to support us. And realistically, kind of the only way at the moment. We were actually just talking about that before going on air, because we may or may not be doing like merchandise this year, like we do kind of in years past. So like right now, Patreon like really is the way.
I think we'll do something. I'm just not entirely sure what. We've done
And
the scars in
timing
years
of it.
past, and I have a whole bunch left still from last year. I think we've kind of hit that saturation point. But I am going to try and come up with. I have a couple other ideas, but we'll sit down. We'll put the hive mind together, and we'll knock out a couple ideas. Man, we gotta. So we almost recorded this last night.
Yes.
Because
it's a good thing we didn't.
I'm leaving for the region of Florida that shall not be named tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow evening. I'm going to be there till like Monday night. So we talked about doing this because I was trying to get a couple other things done, and I just ended up like, all right, let's just leave it as is. And conveniently, all the news dropped today that we had no idea was going to be dropped today. So we got some stuff to talk about. First thing,
I was like all prepared to do another solo show when you said that you were going to be kind of like not sure if you were able to do it this week or not.
It was like there wasn't a whole lot. There was, the one preseason game in the book so far, the one going on now, the one coming up this weekend. But there wasn't really a ton of like groundbreaking news. Now there's
not a
news.
ton, but you know me, I was going to be able to fill it in. You saw the notes for that show. I was like, I was ready to go in case, because that's the thing is you weren't sure if you were be able to do it tonight. And then we were like, well, what if we did it pre-recorded on Tuesday? And then you were like, well, I don't know, maybe I could do this. I've still got to prep and be in a position to go away. And I was like, well, I'm at home doing nothing right now, so I'm ready to go. And then you're just like, let's just do it live.
All right, so we're gonna take a look at the preseason games. I guess you say past, present, future. One from last weekend, the ones coming up this weekend, and briefly mention the one going on right now, to the extent that it can be mentioned and the information is available. We've got some more team news. We've got a signing. We've got some Norwich news. We've got some really interesting league news. We are going to draw the winner of the poster. I haven't even told you how we're going to do this, because I have part of the information and you're going to have part of the information, and that's how we're going to put it together and keep this. I was looking. Actually, I was assuming that there was probably some kind of Twitter account that I could say, give me a random number between X and X, and it would spit it out. So there, it's public information. But I can't find a way to do that, so I'm going to have you get the number, and I'm going to tell you who that number matches up to. So that we know it's not just us picking people that the easiest ones to deliver to, or something like that.
In other words, what you're saying is that this is just another rendition of Technical Issues FC.
This is not Technical Issues. This is a road diverged in the woods, and we're taking the one less traveled. And that will make all the difference. Yes, that's how I'm going to explain it. Also, what I'm going to explain, we're just going to hop right into this and use this as a transition. The first Rowdies preseason result, at least from an open game, they played the Chivas U23s and won that game behind closed doors. But last weekend traveled up to Jacksonville. Never anyone's first option, I should say. Traveled up to Jacksonville and spent some time with the University of North Florida. What are they, like the Seagulls or the Trash Vultures or
Ospreys?
So yeah, basically what I said. And came away with a 2-0 victory. To put it in terms Ryan Sudol loves to hear. Goals were scored by Guillen in the first half, assisted by Hilton. Heard it was a nice overhead volley. Forrest Lasso paid tribute. I'd love to see some highlight video if it had existed. So that was assisted by Hilton, and Murphy with the second goal, assisted by Tejada. Started out with a 3-5-2 formation. Macklin in goal to start with, replaced by McGrain in the second half. Adewasu, Lasso, and Guillen. Lomas, the Norwich City loanee, subs on for Guillen in the 60th. Hilton, who was replaced by Ekra in the 60th. Oduro, replaced by Doherty in the 60th. Dumbaya, replaced by Tejada in the 60th. I'm just thinking to myself, man, we've really got to practice some of these names just to get them like second nature now. Mendoza replaced by Steinberger in the 60th. So we just did like a line change in the 60th.
Yeah. Yep.
Leo Fernandez replaced by a trialist. I think if I ever get a jersey made, I'm going to have trialist put on the back.
I'm just saying, man, foot or bust, just to keep it going.
Oh, man, if only we had a drone in Orlando right now, we could. Or some media shots, since the first 15 minutes were apparently open. Trialist in the 60th minute. Guinzotti replaced by Landon Amaris, an academy player. And we talked a little bit about him in the DMs. He's a Chargers SC kid. He spent some time in the Atlanta United organization. Is, I believe, part of the... at least looking like he's probably pushing for spots with Rowdies U23. Kind of an up-and-coming player. He's had a youth national team cap in the midfield. Is a Bradenton guy. Jeff knows a lot about him. Is familiar with him from down here. His family owns a pretty good chain of restaurants. When he mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, those guys. I knew the name sounded kind of familiar. And then lastly, Lucky Kosana subbed off, replaced by Murphy in the 60th. Nice little way to ease into the preseason. 2-0 win, get a lot of guys out there with some playing time. We know a couple members of the mob went up there. I think some locals went over and saw the game too. We saw some pictures. Nice of them to make the trip and go over there. Any thoughts on that game?
There's There's a couple. So I didn't go to the game, but there's a few things that I thought were interesting from the starting 11 and some of the substitutes. First of all, Amaris. One thing that's interesting about him, apparently he's, I guess, on an actual USL Academy contract. So as it stands, he could potentially make a few appearances for the Rowdies' first team this year. He is eligible to do that, apparently, from the information that I've understood to be. So that's something to keep an eye on. We do apparently have one. I hope the club makes a big deal of announcing that, if it is true, from what I understand of the situation. But I will say this. And obviously the other thing, too, is WoSo. As a defender, WoSo is not a rostered player with the Rowdies officially. He is also like an academy-type kid over, I think, at Chargers. So I don't know if he's officially on a contract or not for a USL Academy contract for making appearances with the first team. So I'm not sure the details there, but it is interesting. We had two kids out there on the field, that and a trialist who, obviously we're all excited. We all love to see trialists. We always love to see them succeed. That's how we picked up Wantahada, was through trialists. So I think it'd be cool, and I hope that maybe that happens. Here's my biggest takeaway, though. You know what name is not in that starting 11 that I was more or less kind of surprised to not see in the starting 11 or in the substitutes for that game?
Who's that?
Malik Johnson did not make an appearance in that game. And what's noteworthy about that is, as we're live on air, the Rowdies Orlando game is going on. Now, we're not going to discuss what's happening during the game, but we will say this. We know we have the lineups. We know who's on the field right now. One of the interesting things about the Rowdies lineup against Orlando right now is in the starting 11, Malik is also absent.
But trialist, maybe or maybe not, same trialist is playing up top in maybe a Malik position.
Yeah, so here's one of the other things that's interesting, too, is that officially speaking, the trialist, and this was something confirmed to us through the team, he's not officially a striker. So on the lineup, as the Rowdies announced it tonight, we're sort of kind of technically, if you want to call it that, a 3-6-1. Kind of, sort of, technically speaking. Now, of course, with these systems, obviously, everything's fluid. So obviously there's a defensive shape and an offensive shape and how, teams attack. We all know that. That's basics of soccer. So I don't know what to make of that, unless we're kind of using a midfielder in a striker role, or, kind of like how we had Malik for the last year or whatever, was a striker in a midfielder role. So, those positions that you're assigned as a letter, God only knows if you actually play them ever. Otherwise, the thing about tonight's game against Orlando, so Orlando's preseason so far was they had a 3-0 win against Stetson and a 2-0 win against a Mexican third division team. But more importantly, they had a 1-0 win against Montreal, who, of course, the Rowdies are playing this Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 11 players that started tonight, Andrew Wiebe, who is a MLS corporate reporter of sorts, he put in what. Now, that being said, totally respected. He knows the league amazing. If you love MLS, or if you are interested in this MLS, that's a great Twitter account to follow, because he really knows his stuff, and he follows the league obviously extremely closely. He put out his supposed depth chart like maybe 2 or 3 days ago, if that. And on his depth chart, when you compare it to the starting 11 Orlando put out against the Rowdies tonight, 8 of them are what he would consider starting quality. So we are missing several players. So tonight's lineup against Orlando, Loro makes his Rowdies kind of debut of sorts. Lomas is now he starts for WoSo. He slides over into a defensive role. So it's Lomas, Lasso, and Guillen in the back, which is important because that's 2 games in a row now, basically, where we've seen those 3 defenders playing in the back. So maybe that's a key to what's going to happen this year. Hilton and Adoro probably are the two defensive midfielders. Kind of just taking guesses as to what the lineups are since I'm not seeing it in person. Doumbia, Mendoza, and Steinberger, I believe, are going to be your technically 3 attacking mids. And I'm not sure, again, if the trialist is a kind of a false 9 attacking mid-type player as well. So maybe there's like a weird extra midfielder in there for defensive shape against this really stacked Orlando team that we're facing against. And then, of course, Murphy, who is the Loudoun player from last year, leading scorer with them. He's our starting striker tonight. So no, at the moment, as the way the game started, no Fernandez, no Gonzatti. Those are 2 really big missing names so far. Of course, Ekra came in as a substitute at one point. There's no Malik Johnson tonight so far. So there's some pretty significant names.
Yeah, no Tejada either.
No Tejada, which, again, what did I say at the very beginning when we first announced Murphy? Murphy was a direct challenge to Tejada. This is a huge year for him. If Juan can get over the hump and get minutes in and be productive, this is a huge moment for his young career if he's going to actually blossom into something that is going to be like a worldwide asset type of deal. Because if he can beat Murphy for minutes and actually get production, you've got a solid pro in your ranks that you might be able to market potentially, depending on the length of the deal that we have him for. So I think that's the big thing. I'll say this, as much as along with all of you lovely listeners, I hate Orlando as much as the next guy, but Oscar Pereira is a world-class coach, in my opinion. He took Dallas to a lot of leaps that they shouldn't have been able to achieve, and he coached the heck out of that team. He went to Tijuana. It didn't quite work out the way he wanted, but now he's in Orlando. He got announced in December that he is in Orlando. So as much as I hate Orlando, Oscar's a fantastic coach. And nobody should ever sleep on his ability to be a tactician because he's great at his job.
Yeah, I'm gonna begrudgingly agree with you. As a Tijuana fan, I was happy when he made the switch. I was kind of disappointed how it didn't end up working out for him. It's most, in my opinion, it's probably the best coaching move Orlando's made in their MLS history, at least, bringing him in. That being said, we're kind of tinkering with ideas of this lineup and who the trialist is and what position they're playing. It's a tactical masterstroke by Neil Collins. He's not giving Oscar any insight into when this becomes a potential Open Cup matchup.
I know.
He's gonna rope. He's gonna run this lineup out here now, and he's gonna rope a dope him with like a 4-4-2 when we when the inevitable Open Cup game comes around and we win 6-1.
Oh, jeez, you listen here, for the love of Pete. Anyways.
Pete the Pelican, yeah.
Exactly. That's why I used it. I mean, come on now.
And he would love a 6-1 win over the dirty purple beep.
What do you think? I am an animal? Come on now. No, so I think, hey, you listen here. So I think at this point we're starting to really start to see some starting 11 potential kind of crystallize a little bit. I think seeing Lomas, Lasso, and Guillen in 2 games in a row essentially as being key contributors to the minutes played. I think that kind of is a really great, possible combo there. Again, just as a remember, Guillen came from North Carolina FC where he played for a couple of years. So that's the background on him. He's been a successful and a solid pro. So I'm excited. I think this is interesting. I think it's very interesting. And if, depending on the Rowdies' results tonight, and again, it's preseason, so neither team is in full fitness. It is what it is. It's closed doors, so there's not as much energy in the game as there could be if everybody was allowed in, which, by the way, everybody in both cities wanted to go to this game. There was a lot of people that really, really wanted
I
to
saw
go
a
to
lot
this
of
game.
tweets flying around today on either end. People trying to figure out a way to get us a glimpse of the game at least.
Yeah. It's funny because they said that there was 15 minutes available for media, and oh my God, if I were to tell you, I would have taken a day off of work just to go over there, just to do 15 minutes and be able to live tweet and do a little bit of reporting for 15 minutes.
If I had known that, we would have both gone over there and done the show live somewhere in Orlando, kicking off with the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
we could have just
well, that might have been
live
safe,
live casted the first 15 minutes and then get as far away from the stadium as possible, so it's in a safer location. And
as fun as it is to speculate, I don't think that was ever happening. But I would have gone there just to see the team see it for 15 minutes. I would have done it. Absolutely.
Oh, definitely would have made that drive for that. So that's tonight, and it's halftime right now. There's really not a lot going on, so we're gonna move on to other things. The game will most likely end by the time after we're done with this. So keep an eye on Rowdies Game Day for all the updates and info from that. But coming up this Saturday, the 2020 Suncoast Invitational, such as it is kicking off. The Rowdies are hosting Montreal at 7 p.m. Miami adjacent is playing Philly at 4 p.m. beforehand. Free admission, no ticket required. Montreal is now coached by a guy by the name of Thierry Henry. Might be familiar. And I feel like I should point out, because I noticed a couple tweets this week, Montreal's been coming down here for years for preseason and for training. This is in no way related to the potential Rays shenanigans involving the city of Montreal. Like, it's not booked as part of that or trying to manufacture a false sister city BS that they're doing. Like, this has just been a typical thing. Maybe a little bit ironic, I guess, given the current news flying around, but Montreal's been coming here for years, so it's don't look for connections that don't exist, I would say. But yeah, free admission, and I hope that we'll get a good crowd there. I'm going to be in Orlando. I can't make it over for the games, especially like Saturday. If I could have driven back for the Saturday one. Saturday night is when my daughter's performing at Disney and on one of the Main Street parades, so I would not be able to make it back from that one. But I hope people will come out, because there are Philly fans who make the trip and make this like part of their vacation. They come down to the area. Miami fans are going to come over. As much as they never went to Lockhart to support the Strikers, they've come to Bradenton for youth, like academy games. And it's probably going to feel a lot like a home game for them. They'll probably bring a pretty decent crowd. The game will not be played in Miami. It's going to be exactly like a home game for these guys. So have our fans out there as well, and start to develop some hopefully positive relationship with these Lockhart takeover people. Go ahead. Montreal's. We'll talk about Miami and Philly later on, because we're going to play. Well, we're not playing Philly this time around, are we? We're only playing Miami next. I'll be at that one. So Montreal's preseason so far, they have defeated DC United 3-1, and lost 1-0 to Philly. Lost 1-0 to Orlando. Believe I saw that when they were talking about the lineups tonight, Orlando ran out the same lineup with one change, Nani not starting for that game as opposed to this game. So kind of give you a good idea what's going on. All right. What? Okay, Steven, explain that, the retweet. Who's playing at Al Lang Stadium?
Montreal's playing right now.
Oh, right
They're
now?
playing DC.
Oh,
they're
that's
playing
right.
DC.
That's right.
Yeah, Montreal plays DC tonight.
And DC plays Orlando at USF tomorrow.
I believe it's Montreal DC.
We'll see. Well,
I think it's closed door anyways, isn't the game? I like the game tonight, or it's Montreal. I don't remember who's playing.
Because Montreal played DC already. This is the first I've heard of it. That's all I'm saying.
The tweet that he's asking me about is Paul Bomar, who is a writer for MLS with The Athletic, and is a DC native, is at Al Lang Stadium right now and was tweeting about it, and I was and complimenting the stadium. Which, by the way, if you ever listen to this little podcast, thank you. We love the compliments. We love our stadium.
Well, he's about to get a notification from us in a little bit, so.
Well, So, he was talking about being at a game, but I think it's closed door or something. But I know that one of our buddies who's a Montreal fan was at the stadium tonight. So I'm guessing that it's, unless they're playing Philly.
But
they could be playing Philly.
I don't know.
Anyways, let's move on.
Why don't we
They're
just
at
ask
the stadium? There's somebody
Pablo
playing.
since he's
There's
there.
somebody kicking soccer balls at Al Lang Stadium tonight, and it's not the Rowdies. So that's kind of cool. Not to brush that off, but I mean, it is what it is. You called out the random tweet.
All right.
So random segment. There you go. There's our attention span.
Saturday, first chance to see the Rowdies in action at Al Lang. Go out there. Do it for me, since I can't be there. I will be there for the next one for the Miami game. Let's move into the team news. We got a signing. It's not even a new signing. It's a welcome back signing.
What is old is new again.
Time is a flat circle. All of this is what was it? The in Battlestar Galactica. All of this has happened before. All of this will happen again. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Max Lakowecki, the owner of Max Lakowecki's Mustache, is back under contract with your Tampa Bay Rowdies. Max is not 26 like most of the other signings. However, he is just 27. Played left side on defense, had 10 starts and 16 overall matches in when he was here in 2018. Did not play professionally 2019. Made 33 appearances for the 2017 Real Monarchs during their regular season title way back when, which is, I think, what induced us to sign him then. Jake Hunter, I believe, spotted him in one of the early preseason training videos that the club posted, and shortly thereafter, the announcement was made. So, very cool to have Max back. I think, like, the notification that I got, of I get, like, when the Rowdies tweet, I get a notification. That was followed like milliseconds later by Max is following us once again. All right. I appreciate that. Maybe we can get him on and talk about what he's been up to and see what's going on. So, very cool to have Max back. Hashtag welcome back, Max. Max Bakowecki, as I started calling him. What's your thoughts on this move? Oh, man, you've gone silent again. I can see you talking. I can see Steven talking, but I cannot hear him. Hold on. He's efforting here. We're trying. I got nothing. All right. We'll get Steven straightened out. Maybe get you signed back. Why don't you try dropping out and dropping back in, see if that works. And then we'll go from there. The other big news that was announced today, I'm gonna hop into Steven's part of the script here for a little bit, and we'll come back and get him back and talk about the his thoughts on Max. The club announced today the Visit Tampa Bay Cup. We've been kind of talking, hoping, harping about international friendlies. We'll see lots of other teams around the league doing it. We haven't had one in quite a while. But July 1st, the Rowdies are going to host the Norwich City U23s at Al Lang. Game's going to be free for season ticket holders. Tickets for general public will go on sale shortly. There was a Rowdies U23 game previously scheduled for that night, which they were all going to be played at Al Lang. That game is going to be moved. Looks like we might have Steven back. Let's see if we have his sound back as well. Steven, are you there? No, I still got nothing. Steven's gone. Oh, man. Shoot, well, I was going to put my thoughts on the friendly out there, but without some counterpoints, I'm not sure if that's the right way to go. So that has been announced today. It's kind of the next step in the partnership. They have announced that the Green and Gold Dream Camp is going to return this year as well. And just got confirmation the game at Al Lang going on tonight is Montreal-Nashville. So this has been the next step up in the partnership, and I believe more is coming in the near future. Stephen, don't run away just yet. Even though we can't hear you, you can help us draw the winner of the poster. All right, so I'm going to explain to Stephen, who can hear me, but none of us can hear him, how he is going to do this. So I have taken everyone's name, since no one gets. So back in like early January, we did we put out there a contest. We've got one of the stadium prints done for Al Lang Stadium, and we put out there if you guess the date and the opponent for the home opener that you'd win it. If no one won it, we're going to just draw from all the names. There are 14 names total. So, Stephen, here's what I need you to do. You're going to go to the website www.random.org. O-R-G. It's a site with lots of links and things to random generators, but it also includes one. Give me a thumbs up when you're on the site. He's loading. He's loading. He's getting there. Yeah, random.org. Go ahead and head over there. This has got to be compelling internet radio, listening to me talk to someone that cannot talk back. All right, Stephen is on the site. In the top right corner, there is a random number generator little app. You're going to enter from 1 to 14, generate a number, and then drop it in the chat here. And based on your number, I have a Post-it note with all the names of everybody who put theirs in. Stephen, the number you gave me is 2. I can save chat logs if we need to verify it. Which means that the winner of the Rowdies Stadium print, I feel like doing this like a reality program. The winner is coming up after this break. No, we're going to announce it right now. It's someone I know from the south side of the bridge, so I can deliver this to them at Shamrock. Congratulations, Britta Shaw, for winning. Every time we have a watch party at Shamrock, she wins stuff too. Stephen just was like, "Oh, she wins everything." What she just didn't she? Was she one of the winners at the foot golf thing over the weekend? I know. Paul won some stuff, but was she like the women's division winner or something? Was there separate trophies as well? All right, Britta, we will make arrangements to get this to you, or I can even just leave it at Shamrock and you can pick it up there sometime. All right. Man, I can't believe we don't have Stephen for the last big chunk. The other big news, and I want to try and see if we can get Stephen. I'm going to boot you out of the recording and see if this works here. Hang on one second. All right, just booted him out. We'll get him to sign back in. The other big news, it dropped this morning. I didn't even see it till I got home, but. There, a little while ago, there have been some overtures, some noises being made around USL headquarters in Tampa that they were going to get back into women's soccer. They previously operated the W League for about I want to say like 20 years or so. It folded in 2015. It was a semi-pro league, kind of equivalent to what's out there now with the UWS and the WPSL, just a little bit under. Just under the NWSL, which is kind of the only fully pro level of this organization. WPSL is where Rowdies women are going to play this year. They've hired former U.S. national team midfielder, I know I'm going to say this name wrong, Angela Huckles, I'm going to say, as a senior consultant to lead the league's effort in the women's game. Steven's back again. Let's see if we can hear him. Nothing. Oh, man. She's a former U.S. player. She's been a women's soccer kind of administrator for a while. She's done broadcasts as well. She's someone who's pretty plugged into the women's game. Like I said, it's not the USL's first foray, whatever it's going to be, into women's soccer. They ran the USLW League for about 20 years as a Pro-Am competition. It folded in 2015. Some of the noises being made was that USL was going to file to operate a Division I women's league in competition with NWSL. That doesn't seem to be the case. That kind of talk was out there before Angela was hired, and she's talking a lot about going in a different direction where you've got UWS and WPSL allow NCAA eligible players to play, so it's amateur players. NWSL is at the top of the so-called pyramid. If you've only got one level, I don't know that you have a pyramid, but it's there. USL might be able to fill a niche by kind of getting in the middle there and increasing the number of fully professional players in the U.S. Maybe so operating at like a Division II level in women's, maybe kind of a bridge between UWS, WPSL going into NWSL. She has said, Angela Huckles has said a couple times that her game plan is I'm out of words after a day of teaching the Monroe Doctrine. Collaboration, not challenging what's already been built. So it's more working with than working against what's established already. If you have a subscription to The Athletic or access to The Athletic, there's a great article in there by Jeff Reuter. We should maybe even try and get him on sometime and talk about this, because with the Rowdies fielding a WPSL club, that might be, kind of a step into that direction. Nothing else breaking now. Steven, you don't want me to update the game, do you? You know you don't want me to. You're shaking no. I want to. You don't want me to. If you're listening, you can maybe infer from that what's going on in the game. I want to update it. Steven doesn't want me to. He's worried that we're going to jinx this like he jinxed his own sound tonight. Yeah, that's right. I'm saying stuff since you can't say anything in your defense. So we're going to wrap it up. We love yous. All the guys playing tonight. Looking forward to seeing you guys. Most people listening to this will see you on the weekend. I will see you next time around. Stevens, we love you is our new patron, Mitchell. And yes, definitely, we love you, Mitchell. Thank you to Wolfface, to Radio St. Pete, and to Shamrock for their constant help and commitment to what we're doing here. Thanks to you guys for continuing to listen to the show. Please continue to share, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you hear this to get it out in front of more people. If you want to be like Mitchell and support us on an ongoing basis, you can go to Patreon, patreon.com/unusedsubspod. We've got levels from like $1 a month, which honestly, believe me, is fantastic. We had a lot of $1 a month donors, and those add up, and all of a sudden, like, bills are getting paid, and that's awesome. There are different levels all the way up to a max of like $10 a month is where we kind of have perks set. You can volunteer your own amount. Anything is welcome. So be like Mitchell if you want to, and go do that. Thank you to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, the official scarf supplier to MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. And if you're tired of the same old uniforms and cookie-cutter templates from Nike and Adidas, which I noticed ever since we started doing this ad last week, Nike has been mentioning how they're not going with templates anymore, at least for their big clubs, the big European teams and some of their best sellers. I don't know if it trickles down to us eventually, maybe. But if not, and you're looking for a unique, completely custom kit for your youth club, Sunday League squad, adult, or even pro team, Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at IcarusFC.com. I think that's it for us tonight. I'm going to speak for Stephen in saying thank you for listening. Join us, I believe, next week. I'm going to be just coming off... still be detoxing from having spent so much time in the central part of Florida, but we'll hopefully have more news and things to share. Thank you guys for listening. Yep, Steven says you get a short show since his mic is not working. I think I have an idea, Steven. I want you to hang on the line after this. I want to try something to see if this figures it out. All right, thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you guys next week. See ya.
The Rowdies were here, the Rowdies were there, they kicked the wall.